Hello guys, today I'll be bringing you a different kind of video. I'll be showing you my Rielle the Everwise EDH deck. This Izzet deck is a competitive deck that adapts between a proactive combo deck and a reactive control deck. In terms of power level, I think my list is about 85% there from the full competitive list, as I play a few pet cards that generally don't make other super competitive lists. However, with the control package and card advantage you gain, you'll still have a great chance of pulling out the win. Since every list is different, I feel I should say why I built this deck, instead of just playing the other wheel deck in our format, Opus Thief. And to be honest, I did build Opus Thief, cough cough, check our gameplay videos to see how I did running the list. But I felt that I wasn't having the impact I wanted to. I always felt like my hand would just get clogged up with more expensive spells, and I didn't want to deploy them without drawing the ire of the table. With that in mind, I tried to keep the CMC as low as I could and limit the sorcery speed spells that I played in my list. As everyone knows, tapping mana is so much better on the other player's turn. To start, I guess I should explain what Rielle actually does. Rielle is a 3 CMC commander costing a generic and an Izzet. She is a 0/3 human wizard with 2 key features. She gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard, and her second ability, and the main reason why you play her, is whenever you discard 1 or more cards for the first time each turn, draw that many cards. This means you can gain card advantage from the quote-unquote downsides of many commonly played cards in cEDH, such as Faithless Looting, Mox Diamond, or Dax Faden. But to get into the brass tacks of the deck, I might as well start with the Counter Magic package. At 1 CMC, I run Pyroblast, Dispel, Flusterstorm, and Swan Song. At 2 CMC, I run Rites of Refusal, Mana Drain, and Izzet Charm. Izzet Charm is actually pulling double duty here as both counter magic and a discard effect. At 3 CMC, I run Circular Logic for the Madness ability, and Forbid for the buyback ability as an extra discard outlet. It's possible that these are too cute and I should be running instead maybe a Narset's Reversal or maybe just a Negate, but I like these cards. And lastly, I will talk about my free counter magic. I run Pact of Negation, Mental Misstep, Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swat, Force of Will, and lastly, another pretty cute card, Foil. After counter magic is my removal suite. This is potentially one of the areas that I should beef up on my removal. At 1 CMC, I run Pongify, Chain of Vapor, and Firestorm. And at 2 CMC, I run every blue player's favorite card, Cyclonic Rift, and the all-star card for being too expensive, Gilded Drake. Some lists run Turbulent Dreams, Abrade, or Curse Totem as additional removal spells. While these are definitely good cards, and I might try them out in the future, I don't have them in my list. Also, because we are only 2 colors, you could run a Back to Basics / Blood Moon, Magus of the Moon, Land Hate package. The only reason I do not is my current meta doesn't favor it. We have a Brago Stacks player and lots of budget brews that generally play a lot of basics. Unfortunately, because we do not have access to black, our suite of tutors is a little more limited. I only run a Mystical Tutor and a Spellseeker. You could include Gamble, Merchant Scroll, or Muddle the Mixture if you want to increase your number of tutors. Next is my Ramp suite. While you don't have access to green, you can run all the fast mana that cEDH is known for. At 0 CMC, I run Lotus Petal, Mana Crypt, Chrome Mox, Mox Amber, Mox Diamond, and lastly, Lion's Eye Diamond. At 1 CMC, I run the classic Soul Ring and Mana Vault. At 2 CMC, I run Dockside Extortionist, Izzet Signet, Talisman of Creativity, Grim Monolith, Thought Vessel, and Felwar Stone. Although Felwar Stone really should be an Arcane Signet, I just haven't updated my list. So I keep mentioning the great draw power of Rielle, so here's what I run. At 0 CMC, I run Bazaar of Baghdad. I don't think this card is super necessary, but it's up to your own discretion because I know it is expensive. At 1 CMC, I run Gitaxian Probe, Cephaliv Colosseum, and some of you might be saying, wait, that's not a spell, but I put it under my 1 CMC spells just because it costs 1 to activate its draw ability. Next is Burning Inquiry, Careful Study, Mystic Remora, Ponder, Forgotten Cave, Ash Barrens, Faithless Looting, and a Lonely Sandbar. Cycling is a great ability as it's hard to interact with unless your opponents are running a whole bunch of stifle effects. At 2 CMC, I run Smoldering Crater, Remote Isle, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, Thrill of Possibility, Brawl, Chief of Compliance. I count this in the draw effect because you're running so much counter magic you can often get the draw discard effect going off of him. Dangerous and Dangerous Wager. The wager I probably should cut as it's very risky, just as the card says itself. At 3 CMC, I run Windfall, Dak Faden, Nimble Obstructionist, Jace's Archivist, Frantic Search, Rhystic Study, Seasoned Pyromancer, the Royal Scions, and Wheel of Fortune. I'll talk about Wheel more in the combo section later in the video. And lastly, at 4 CMC, I run Channeled Force, Jace, Wielder of Mystery, and lastly, a new card that I want to test out, Teferi, Master of Time. Now, let's talk about payoffs for all that draw and discard. These start a little higher up on the CMC chain, but at 3, I run Chasm Skulker, Glinthorn Buccaneer, Laboratory Maniac, and Narset, Harder Veils. At 4 CMC, I'm running Braylon, Sky Shark Rider, and another new card I'm testing out, Teferi, Ageless Insight, as a backup Rielle effect. At 5 mana, I'm running Psychosis Crawler, because it's colorless, and then at 6 mana, Niv Mizzet, Haroon. I wasn't sure at the beginning when I put this on the list, but if you can land a Niv, it's such a good card and it'll net you so much value. And lastly, before I go into the combo section and the do's and don'ts, I'll just tell you my lands. I run 6 fetches, starting with a Scalding Tarn, Flooded Strand, Polluted Delta, Arid Mesa, Bloodstained Mire, and a Prismatic Vista. Next for duels, I run Volcanic Island, Steam Vents, Sulphur Falls, and Command Tower. For colorless/utility lands, I run an Ancient Tomb for acceleration, Strip Mine, and a Rogue's Passage, just in case Rielle gets big enough to one-shot a player, which is possible. For basics, I run 8 islands and 4 mountains. Now, after seeing this list, some might be asking how this deck wins other than just by pure card advantage. And that's mainly because of this card, Underworld Breach. There are generally 2 lines of combos that most decks run. The first being the Underworld Breach combo, and the second being Isochron Dramatic Reversal combo. The main combo that my deck features is the Underworld Breach combo, plus Lion's Eye Diamond, plus Wheel of Fortune. For some of you that don't understand the combo, you can cast Lion's Eye Diamond either from the hand or the graveyard by exiling 3 cards, then cast Wheel of Fortune from your hand or graveyard by exiling 3 more cards after you have cast an Underworld Breach. You might have noticed that you need 6 cards to exile from your bin, but you get 7 back from the Wheel of Fortune. So you can repeat this, gaining an additional card in the graveyard each time you go through this. You can continue going through this, essentially milling your entire library, and then win by either Laboratory Maniac or Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. Another card you can use instead of Wheel of Fortune is Brainstorm to mill yourself, and net you a mana every time you do it, because it costs 2 instead of 3 for Wheel. I used to run Thassa's Oracle, but found it to be a dead card in my hand most of the time, because I didn't have access to Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact. The other combo that I mentioned is Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal, plus a few mana rocks to generate infinite mana, and then you can go into various loops with Time Twister or a variety of other things once you have infinite mana. Now, you might be asking, what are the do's and don'ts of playing Rielle? Well, the first thing is this deck is highly dependent on the player. You need to have proper threat assessment and the ability to determine what would actually affect you the most and what you need to counter and what you don't need. One thing to be careful of is when to wheel and when not to wheel. Oftentimes, it's very tempting to draw 14 cards from Rielle's ability, but it's generally not worth it to give your opponent a full new grip, so always try and pair it with Narset. And lastly, it's also very important that you get an early Rielle to start the game to gain advantage. This is often one of the ways you can just outvalue your opponents as early as possible, plus get into extra damage by attacking with Rielle early game. I hope you have enjoyed this deck tech. I will have my list linked in the bio of this video. I will also link a URL to the cEDH Decklist Database where you can find additional lists and access to the Discord if you have further questions. Thank you for watching, and if you like the content, please leave a like and consider subscribing, as it really helps us make more videos. And as always, stay salty.